Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to the She Thinks Big podcast. I thought maybe I should reintroduce myself because, I just assume everybody knows who I am out there, but that's not true. So if this is the first episode ever that you are tuning into, welcome. I am Andrea Libros. I am a coach and author. I am someone who is obsessed with helping women think bigger and build businesses that don't just grow, but actually scale without sucking up all of their time and energy. And today, actually, we are really diving into right to that last little part, without sucking up all of your time and energy. We're diving into 5 principles that really completely changed the way I work, hire, and lead. Okay. And these come straight from one of my favorite books of all time, Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. But I have taken them, these 5 principles, and actually implemented them first in my own business, and then now helping my clients implement them in their businesses. And let me tell you, they work. Okay. In fact, I believe in these so much that I've created quick, easy to watch videos on each of these principles that I require every new contractor or team member I work with to watch. Why? Because when my team gets buy-in on these ideas, not only do they work more efficiently, but they grow. They grow into better leaders, better managers, and better decision makers. So if you're hiring or thinking about hiring, start thinking about how you can set your team up for success from day one. Okay, so wherever you're tuning in from, a walk, the car, the kitchen, the soccer field, you might want to get your notes app out or your pencil, because we're going to get into it and we're going to go through these. And I think they're truly game changers. All right, you ready to dig in? Here we go. Number 1, the definition of done. Okay, start with the end in mind. Okay, one of the biggest time sucks, I think, is not knowing when something is actually finished. And here is a real life example. So a few months ago, I asked a contractor, 1099s, all my people are really 1099s at this point, to create a client report template. Okay, now when she sent it back to me, it was not at all what I expected. But you know what? That was really on me. I hadn't defined what done looked like. So I learned from that. And now, before any task starts, my team and I agree on the definition of done, meaning the final version that meets all requirements. Like, what's the final version going to look like? And what are my requirements for it to be the final version? For any task to be done, it needs to have been reviewed and approved. For any task to be done, it's ready to be used without me needing to jump back in and fix it. Okay. Now, this small little shift has really eliminated back and forth revisions. It's eliminated misunderstandings. It's eliminated wasted time. So before you start anything, I want you to ask yourself, what does done actually mean here? If it's not clear, then you're setting yourself up for a headache. Okay, so number 1 is define done. Number 2, the 1-3-1 rule. Okay, the 1-3-1 rule really brings to light solutions and not just problems. Like, I don't know. I don't know about you, but here's the picture, which infuriates me. Team member, we use Slack sometimes, slacks me and says, okay, here's the situation. I think we have a problem. That is not what I want to read. Because I then think like, great, now what? I have to rush in and be the problem solver. And this is really where the 1-3-1 rule comes in. Instead of just bringing a problem, I really require my team to bring one problem, 3 possible solutions, and 1 recommended course of action. So here's the problem. Here are 3 ways we could deal with it. But here's the 1 way that I am going to recommend that we move forward. So example, my assistant messaged me saying, Andrea, the automation for booking consult calls isn't working. Okay, so the automation for booking calls wasn't working. That was the problem. Okay, but what she messaged me, instead of panicking, she kind of followed the 1-3-1 rule and presented 3 possible fixes. Okay, so that I didn't have to solve the problem. I just had to approve the best solution. So when you train your team to think like problem solvers, you stop being the bottleneck. And if you always are bringing your team problems instead of solutions, it's time to flip the script. Okay, so another way to deal with this is if you identify a problem, you might want to go to your team and say, hey, here's the problem. Here's 3 ways I think we could fix this. Will you research and come back to me with a recommendation on which one you think is best? That's following, actually, I believe, level 3 of the 5 levels of delegation. If you have not listened to the 5 levels of delegation podcasts, there's actually a whole Spotify playlist on delegation. You should dive in there, okay? Because this 1-3-1 rule kind of aligns with that. Which brings me to the 3rd thing that Dan Martell talks about in his book, or the 3rd rule that I make my team abide by, is these 5 levels of delegation and handing off work the right way. So delegation is not just about dumping work on people. It's about giving the right level of autonomy. And I once made the mistake of delegating at level 1, which is do exactly as I say, when I really should have been at level 4, make a decision, then tell me what you did. And here's what happened. When I delegated at level 1, the project stalled because the person on the other end kept waiting for my approval. Okay, so now I really train my team on these 5 levels of delegation, which are level 1, do exactly as I say for tasks that really require no creativity. Number 2, level 2 would be research and report back for when I need info before I can make a decision. Level 3 is give opinions and recommend a solution. That's for problem solving. Number 4 is make a decision and then just tell me what you did, for when I trust their judgment. And level 5 is just handle it, like complete ownership. So if you're still making every decision, then you're not delegating. You're just offboarding tasks. And that's exhausting. That's exhausting. Then you're micromanaging. So if you haven't listened to the episode about the let them, let me theory, I talk a little bit about micromanaging. And there's ways to deal with that. So this is one way. Go listen to that episode for another way. Okay. We've got to become really much better delegators in order to buy back your time. And Dan Martell does lots of talking about that in his book. Go read that. I'm giving you lots of homework, aren't I? All right. Here's number 4, impact filter, which kind of is what we could apply to this homework. Make sure what you're doing actually matters. So are you doing homework that's going to help you, right? So raise your hand. I'm going to see this virtually. Raise your hand if you've ever spent hours on something only to just realize later it didn't even matter. So if you're in the carpool line, raise your hand. If you're folding laundry, stop folding, raise your hand. Yeah, I've been there. Okay. And that's why before taking action on anything new, I now run it through the impact filter. A simple It's really like a simple way to ask, what does success look like here? Who benefits from this? What's the worst case scenario if we don't do it? Okay, so example, I was debating whether to start a weekly live video series, but when I ran it through the impact filter, I realized it really wasn't the best use of my time. It wouldn't generate the ROI I needed. And instead, I focused on improving my podcast content because that's what actually moves the needle. Okay, so if the impact isn't clear, so those live videos, it wasn't clear the impact it was going to make, you got to rethink it. No more busy work disguised as productivity. Social media is a huge culprit of this. Like, what is the impact filter there? I'd be super curious. Okay, which brings me to the fifth thing that Dan Martell talks about in his Buy Back Your Time book, which is your ROI on time. It is the most important metric in your business. At the end of the day, your most valuable resource isn't money. It is time. It is time. So a few years ago, I caught myself spending hours scheduling social media posts, something that I could easily outsource for not a ton of money. Okay. And the moment that I let that go and focused on high value work, my business scaled. It scaled. So ask yourself, if someone else can do it for $50 an hour or less, should you be doing it? Is this task moving you toward your big goals? Is this the highest and best use of your time? And if the answer is no, go literally buy back your time. Okay, so let's sum this up. There you have it. You get 5 principles that I think Dan does a great job of talking about in his book that I believe will change the way you hire and you work and lead. They're the 5 principles that I make my team adhere to. I have little videos on each one of them. I actually probably can share the videos in the show notes. So go grab them. I will try to find a link to that and put that in there. Remember, principle number 1, get crystal clear on the definition of done so you don't waste your time fixing mistakes. Number 2, use that 1-3-1 rule so you're always bringing solutions, not just problems, to the table. Number 3, delegate using the 5 levels of delegation so your team is set up for success. Number 4, run everything through that impact filter so you stay focused on what really matters. Number 5, protect your ROI on time because it's the most valuable asset you have. And if you take one thing from today's episode, let it be this. Time is really the only thing you can't make more of. Time is really the only thing that you can't make more of, literally. But figuratively, if you use these 5 principles, you can make more of it. Okay. So when I ask people, okay, what do you think of the 4 most valuable resources, time, money, brain power, or people, which is the most valuable? A lot of times they say time, but I actually think it's brain power because if you use brain power to use these 5 principles, you can create more time for yourself. And then use that time wisely. Okay. If this episode got you thinking about how you run your business, and what if you're ready to actually scale instead of just grow, I would love to help you. I would love to help you. Okay. Book a call with me. Let's figure out how I can help you and work with you to create more time. I like to say, let's double your revenue and double your time. Okay. And that's going to mean that we're going to have to get you out of the grind of day to day and into real sustainable growth. And if you haven't already booked a call with me, there's no reason not to. The worst thing that can happen, you come away with some insight, some aha moments. Yeah. So head over to Andrea's with an S, links with an S, click the book a call button. Let's do it. And if you haven't already clicked the subscribe button for this podcast, so we can do it, so we can keep having these big thinking kind of conversations. All right, check out the show notes for links to Dan's book, links to those 5 videos, links to Andrea's links. And that's it for today. Go out there, my friends, make some smart decisions and buy back your time. Until next week, keep thinking big. Can't wait to hear what you're doing. See you next time.